I am Amy Conlon, and I'm excited to work with you today and in the future. I would like to say as we get started, if each district could please message in the chat who you have with you from your team today. If you're on your own, if you could please note that as well. This will help to guide our webinar today and help us to spend our time where we need to. So please forgive me if I repeat information that you are already aware of and that you already know. We do want everyone to go through this process because you all have fresh data to look at, and we want to make sure that you're on a track that aligns to your school's needs. Today's agenda is to analyze your 4-result comparison of your school's CNA data, to analyze your CNA triangulation data, that's from your OPI contact and your IC contact from the 1920 school year. And both of those were emailed to you yesterday from Carrie. And then you'll look at any other forms of school data that you have collected. We'll work on identifying the gaps in our data, and then we will talk about next steps. So what are we looking at? What is this 4-result comparison data? So this means the last 4 times that your school took the CNA. This is a condensed version of the actual CNA, and it just lists each category. If you would like more detailed, specific details about, maybe you notice that an area of growth would be assessment, but you want to know specifically what areas were marked lower, then you'll need to refer to your actual CNA results. And if you need any help accessing those CNA results, please just let us know. So today we hope you'll leave this webinar with clear goals in mind for the 2021 school year. We are encouraging you to use your 4-result comparison of data from your CNA, your IC and OPI contact triangulation data from the 1920 school year, and any other local or school data that you feel will help you identify your strengths and areas of growth. What we want you to know is that you are in the driver's seat for this process. The data should help you decide what your next step will be, to set your goals, and write your action plan. So to exit out of comprehensive support, this is another reason why our CNA data is so important. Now, this is just one option of how you can exit out of comprehensive school support. There is another way that we will discuss, and we will discuss these options again. But the third criteria to exit out of comprehensive support is to show continual improvement in all of the components within the CNA. So the OPI and external partners provide support to the schools will also score each school year on a scale from 1 to 5. Schools will take the use of the comprehensive needs assessment to develop and monitor their academic goals with their CSIP. And improvement means moving from a 1 to at least a 3 over the course of the 3 years. So as you look at your school CNA, we do understand that this is not a perfect assessment. One of the issues that has been brought up is that I don't know is being marked as not being implemented, and we understand that. Sure. We are working on putting together a new version of the CNA, so stay tuned for information on that. Again, we recognize that many of you have worked through this process, but we do want you to please go through these steps because you have new data to consider, and we want to make sure that your needs are aligned with your goals and your budget. Yep, that one. So we're going to be looking at your 4-result comparison of your data from the CNA, your triangulation data from your school, your IC, and your OPI contact from the 1920 school year, and both of those were sent to you from Carrie. And then any data that you have collected, you just want to make sure that you're looking at your most current set of data. And you do not need to identify a strength in an area of growth in each category, but we're looking more for the overarching trends or relationships between the sets of data that you have. We'd like you now to take out your 4-year or your 4-result comparison data. And while working with your team, identify one area of strength and one area of growth off of this point of data. We're going to give you about 4 minutes to begin this initial conversation. We do understand that your team will not complete this activity. We'd like you to turn off your camera and mute your mic. And when your group is finished, please turn your camera back on so that we know that you're ready to continue.
On the CNA report, the available things that you could choose from were not being implemented, 2, 3, or sustained practice. So you can think of not being implemented as the lowest if you want to. And then 2 as, oh, it's somewhat being implemented. It's a little better than, not being implemented. And then sustained practice is, this is what we do. This is just what, it's just what we do. We don't even think twice about doing it. Does that help the person from Brockton? Does that make sense?
So the 4 resource data that you have, the CNA data, that data is over 4 different points. So you're asking if you're looking at the 2019 data. There is 2019 data in there. There's also 2020 data, 2018. So from when you started till now. So what does the data tell us and what does the data not tell us? And I was wondering if anyone wanted to share out any information of just your initial, what you were thinking or seeing when you looked at your data. If there's anyone that would like to share anything that they found, you don't have to share your specific school data, but it could even just be on the assessment itself or anything you found interesting. And if not, that's okay too.
I'll share from Victor's schools. One of the things that was very notable is once we put a structured process in place for discussing the elements of the CNA, and truly understanding and getting on the same page with what a 4 means versus not implemented, our scores plummeted, as would be expected, because then we were all thinking the same way, not only about the vocabulary in the CNA, but also about what sustained practice looks like.
So now we're going to ask you to take out your triangulation data with your IC, OPI contact, and the CNA data from the 1920 school year. Again, this was emailed to you yesterday from Carrie. You'll notice across the top it'll say CNA, OPI contact, IC, instructional consultant. So again, when working with your team, identify one area of strength and one area of growth just based off of this data. We will give you some time to begin this initial conversation. We do understand that your team will need more time to complete this task. Please turn off your camera and mute your mic, and when your group is finished, please turn your camera back on.
I just wanted to add quickly, there is a lot of ones in this area on this particular one, and I chalk that up to just I don't knows, and so I just wanted to make sure that you all understood that as well, in terms of having outside people fulfilling this survey of your school. And so that just lets us know that we need to do a better job of asking questions, but I just wanted to acknowledge that that is not implemented most of the time. It is just an I don't know from the IC or from the OPI contact, and we need to be better about that.
Other data that you might use. You might use data from your walkthroughs, progress monitoring, SBAC interims, attendance. But due to COVID-19, many of you are planning on assessing students early in the fall to collect additional data. And the OPI has some recommendations around this. So the OPI is recommending that you use the interim comprehensive assessments and that they be administered by October 16th or within the first 8 weeks of school to all students in tested grades to help determine individual learning plans for the remainder of the year. After that, the interim assessment blocks and the focused interim assessment blocks can be used from October through February of 2021 to identify personalized learning needs and to assist teachers with identifying supports based on grade level content and individual student strengths and areas of support. On the next slide, there's math and ELA assessments. So interims will be available on August 24th, 2020. The OPI will roll over the student file from the last year, including individual student test settings, so that schools can start using the interims in August. Students will be assigned the grade above where they were from the last year, and all their accommodations and supports as set and tied last year will roll over into the 2021 school year. All user roles will also be rolled over in Tide for the 2021 school year, which will require you to reset your password for the first time you log into the Tide portal.